Do something with me real quick. Pick an era of basketball, anyone you want. Allen Iverson crossing grown men into the hardwood. Kobe and Shaq bullying the entire league. The 7 seconds or less Suns. The staff snapping the geometry of the sport clean in half. Wemby right now doing things a 7'5" human body should not physically be allowed to do. Got one? Good. LeBron James was on the floor for it. He guarded Allen Iverson. He shared a court with Shaq and Kobe. He ran with those Suns. He's played Steph dozens of times, and this past season he traded buckets with a 19-year-old who was born the same year the first tweet was ever sent. We love to sort basketball into generations, into neat little labeled boxes. The early 2000s, the super teams, the pace and space era, whatever's happening right now. And it's clean, it's tidy, it makes the arguing so much easier. And then there's the one guy who flatly refuses to be filed anywhere, because he has been standing in every single box at once for 23 straight years. So, quick promise before we start. We are not ranking him today. We can fight about the GOAT stuff another night. What I want to show you, in a way, is more telling than a ranking. The entire modern history of the NBA has run straight through this one man's career. 4 generations of basketball. One continuous, legendary career still going on. Start at the far end of the timeline, the part that feels almost prehistoric now. LeBron James arrived in October of 2003, the season right after Michael Jordan played his final NBA game. And he dropped straight into a sport that looked nothing like today. Hand-checking was still legal, the Spurs were grinding out titles. And on the very first Lakers team the 18-year-old rookie ever faced, there were 2 Hall of Famers, Karl Malone and Gary Payton. Malone, 40 years old, born in 1963, a man who'd been dunking on people since the Reagan administration. Guys whose primes were on VHS tapes. The game itself looked completely different than it does today. The mid-range jumper was still a craft regularly used. Big man posted up on the block like it was written into law, and the 3-point line was mostly a decoration, taking a fraction of the time it gets launched now. Here's a picture that tells you how far away 2003 really is. As a rookie, LeBron traveled with a PlayStation 2, lugging it hotel to hotel, the coolest piece of tech a teenager with a shoe deal could own back then. He entered this league on a PS2. He's still here for the launch of GTA 6. One stat from The Athletic that reframes the whole thing. LeBron has personally shared the court with more than 36% of players who ever played in the NBA. 1,842 players out of a little over 5,000 in all of recorded league history. He is the Kevin Bacon of basketball. Pick any player across 2 full decades and odds are you can link them to LeBron in one single step. Because either he guarded them, or their teammate, or, and we'll get to this in a bit, their father. 29 of the guys who came into the league after him made an all-star team, retired, and called it quits. He was there for the whole thing, start to finish, hello to goodbye. February 7th, 2023. Crypto.com Arena. He needs 36 points to pass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for the all-time scoring record, a mark that had stood for 39 years. Third quarter, he rises up into the mid-range fadeaway and it drops. Everything stops. The unbreakable record is finally broken. And Kareem, the man whose record had defined an entire earlier age of this league, walks out onto the floor and physically hands LeBron the basketball. The torch got passed, and the man holding the torch just keeps on running with it. He is the last living bridge to a version of the NBA that basically no longer exists. When he finally stops, a door to that whole vanished world will close behind him. Start with the best example, 2003, his own draft class. The class of 2003 is highly regarded as one of the greatest ever assembled. Carmelo Anthony, Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, all of them first ballot Hall of Famers, all of them legends. Every single one of them retired years ago. Wade, one of his best friends, the guy he won 2 titles next to in Miami, has been out of the league since 2019. Already had his jersey lifted to the rafters, already got into the Hall of Fame, and received a statue outside of American Airlines Center. LeBron is the last man standing from one of the best draft classes in the league history, and from the 3 draft classes that came after it too. Then there's guys like Derrick Rose. Rose came in 5 years behind LeBron, he became the youngest MVP in the history of the sport, and for one supernova season he was the most electric guard alive. Due to an unfortunate injury, that prime was vastly cut short, but he had arrived, peaked, declined, and fully retired. A whole MVP career opened and shut, while LeBron never so much as left the floor. And Rose is just one name in a flood. 2,375 players have made their NBA debut since LeBron did, and roughly 58% of them are already out of the league. 1,400 careers, hello to goodbye, inside one man's working life. Dwight Howard, a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, came in 1 year after LeBron and has been retired for ages. Blake Griffin, gone. Whole arc's first day to last while he just refuses to leave the stage. Bryce Sensabaugh plays in the NBA right now. Bryce Sensabaugh was born on October 30th, 2003, the day after LeBron's NBA debut. Think about that sequence for a second. LeBron played a full professional basketball game, dropped 25 points on the Sacramento Kings, went home to sleep, and the next morning a guy who is currently his opponent in this league was born into the world. There are 85 players in the NBA this season who did not exist yet on the night LeBron was already a working pro. And the one that might be the most absurd, JJ Redick. Redick came into the league 3 years behind LeBron. He played 15 seasons, a full, long, respectable NBA career. Then he retired. Then he built an entire second life as one of the biggest basketball media voices in the country. A whole podcast empire, famous all over again in a brand new job. And then he got hired as the Lakers head coach. A man entered the league, played a decade and a half, retired, got famous a second time in a separate career, and looped all the way back around to become LeBron's boss. And LeBron was there, in uniform, on the floor for the entire arc of it, beginning to end. Cooper Flag, the 2025 number 1 overall pick, was born in December of 2006. To put that in real scale, Flag wasn't even 3 years old when LeBron won his first MVP award back in 2009. This past April, in a real NBA game, the 41-year-old and the 19-year-old traded 20-point first halves. The first time in 79 years of professional basketball that a man over 40 and a teenager both scored 20 and a half of the same game. He played with a man born in 1962 and against a boy born in 2006. This past spring, LeBron and his son Bronny James also became the first father and son duo to ever play together in an NBA playoff game. LeBron didn't just last long enough to face the next generation, he lasted long enough to make one, raise him all the way up to grown, and then suit up next to him. In the Rocket series this postseason, he set up Bronny for an alley-oop playoff bucket, a 41-year-old assisting his own son in the postseason. LeBron has now played against 12 different father and son combinations, men he faced, and then years later their sons. He's also played against 4 different guys who were his own son's teammates growing up, in AAU and high school and college. Now look at the benches. He is older than 6 current NBA head coaches, grown men running entire franchises. He's shared a court as an opponent with 5 other guys who are now head coaches themselves. The whole administrative generation of the sport, the players who came in, played, retired, and moved into the front office and onto the sideline. A whole cluster of them are younger than the man still casually dropping 20 a night. Will Hardy, who runs the Jazz, younger than LeBron. Joe Mazzulla won a championship as a head coach, cut down the nets, gave the whole trophy speech, and LeBron's got a few years on him. The man is older than the guys hired specifically to outthink him. When you're older than the coaches and you're busy guarding the Suns, you have stopped being a player inside the timeline. You've become the timeline itself. Which is exactly what makes what happened a few weeks ago so perfect. Because the newest chapter of LeBron's career closes one of the oldest loops in it. This July, at 41 years old, after 23 seasons and a $52.5 million salary with the Lakers last year, LeBron took the veterans minimum, one of the biggest pay cuts anyone in the sport has ever volunteered for, and signed with the Philadelphia 76ers. Sit with the choice for 1 second. The Sixers haven't even been to the finals since 2001, 2 full years before LeBron ever played an NBA game. He's been to the finals 10 times since. He is older than the franchise's own relevance. And the executive who runs that franchise, the man whose signature is on the deal, is named Mike Gansey. So rewind all the way back to the start of everything, before any of this happened. Ohio, high school, senior year. There's a statewide vote for the best basketball player in the state, Mr. Basketball. Gansey finished second, and you already know exactly who finished first. 23 years later, the kid who lost that vote to a teenage LeBron grew up, climbed an entire career ladder, ran a franchise, and became the man who hands a 41-year-old LeBron an NBA contract. The timeline folded all the way back to the beginning and shook its own teenage hand. The governor of Pennsylvania declared the day he signed it LeBron James Day. And the reason he's even in Philadelphia rhymes with a scene from a decade ago, which is the whole point of the man. 2016, Cleveland, down 3-1 in the finals against a Warriors team that had just won 73 games. You do not come back from that. Nobody in the history of the league ever had. And after Game 4, past midnight, the locker room dead silent, everybody already half accepting the thing was over, LeBron did something Tristan Thompson would describe years later. Before they flew back to Oakland for Game 5, he sent the entire roster one text. The whole message: if you don't believe we can win this series, don't get on the plane. That was it. Show up believing or stay home. They got on the plane, they won 3 straight. First team in finals history to erase a 3-1. And he ended a 52-year championship drought for an entire heartbroken city. Philadelphia hasn't won a title since 1983, 43 years. He has done this exact thing before. And if he pulls it off one more time, if the ring lands, he becomes the first athlete in any of the 4 major American sports to win championships with 4 different franchises. You could file all of this under longevity and move right along. Plenty of people do. But longevity is the wrong-sized word for it. What you're looking at is a single unbroken thread pulled across the whole modern history of the sport. From a man born in the Kennedy administration to a boy born the year of the first tweet, all of it running through one pair of hands that are still, at 41, the single biggest story of the entire summer. That's something we will never see again.